I was in a relationship which I had been in for a few years actually, but it really wasn't us as a relationship living together until like maybe the last year. He's a truck driver, so he was gone most of the time. And when I moved here to Phoenix, we decided that once my daughter graduated high school and was going off to college, we would stay, we would live together. As time went on, um, he started with wanting more than what I was willing to do. He started making, suggestions, and because I loved him, or I thought that would be the right thing to do, at least try. But the suggestions was not something that I was comfortable with, and I told him that. He thought that it would be better for both of us if we tried different positions, but what he was suggesting I didn't feel comfortable with. And so he basically was suggesting, rather than just having, the what he called old-fashioned sex, he wanted more, I should say, he wanted anal sex, and I wasn't comfortable with that. And so, I told him that, and he said, "Well, at least try." So I figured, okay, I'll try. I love this guy; he's good. Um, it won't hurt me to try. And so, in trying again, I didn't feel comfortable. I mean, and I told him that it hurt. I don't want to do this. So, but what I found as time went on, each time we were intimate, that's what he would want from me. He would always say that, if you love me, you'll do this. And I just didn't want to. And by me telling him that I wasn't comfortable and that it hurted, I felt that he would understand that. I mean, what we had, I thought was good. This is something we need to work on, but I don't think I should be forced at this point in our relationship. I mean, we weren't married, but again, because I loved him, I thought it was up to me to try. So it got to a point where I noticed he would make the moves on me. He would get me all worked up, and then are we going to do that? And if I said no, he would basically turn his back on me, and like, okay, we're done. There was times when he would basically try and force himself on me. It got to a point where he was really strong arming me, like he'd take my arm and twist it behind my back and try and force me to do what I didn't want to do. And, there was a couple of times when he'd do that, and I'm not as strong as him. I'm not a man. I couldn't handle that, but he would try and force himself. So, I mean, it got to a point where I threatened to call the police if he didn't leave me alone. I needed to go. I needed to get away. I didn't want to see him. I didn't want to have anything to do with him. I didn't want him to come back there. I didn't want to have a confrontation with him. And so that's what I did. I packed up everything and moved it into a storage. Went back to the apartment, wrote a note and left the key for the apartment. I left the key there, and I called the manager and told him that I was moving out and I wasn't going to come back. I was leaving the key. And as I closed the door, I'm locked out now. I'm thinking, what am I gonna do? I don't have money to go rent a motel or anything like that. So, and I'm hot and sweaty, and so by now it's dark, and I'm thinking, where am I gonna go? I don't know anybody out here. So what did I do? I went back to the storage that I had rented, put the things in, and that's where I stayed that night. I didn't know what else to do. I was just tired. So I remember laying, and it was so hot. I remember lying down on a mattress or something, and it must have been like 4 or 5 in the morning. At that time, that's the coolest part of the day because the sun hadn't come up yet. But I remember sitting up and thinking, what am I gonna do? I can't continue sleeping here. They came and they bought clothes, like underwear. I mean, they bought everything I needed, and I thought that was so nice. And at that time, she told me that it was Alice actually. She told me that again that I was in an abusive situation and they were gonna help me. And just hearing that, it's like a big rock lifted off me because I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know where I was going to turn. I didn't know who was going to help me. I was out here all alone. So when they showed up and said they were going to help me, I felt such a relief. It's just, I was able to breathe normal. She's like, this is your place. And it's like this little apartment. And I'm like, you mean me by myself? She goes, yeah. I was like, are you sick? I couldn't believe it. It was so nice. And not only was it nice, it was something I have never seen before as far as shelters go. You know, I figure when they say shelter, they're going to take you to this big building and you're going to be housed with all these different women and children. But it was nothing like that. It was my very own apartment.
That 50 to 61 age group is extremely challenging to access resources for. Most of the time, they don't have children under the age of 18. So any kind of benefits that are earmarked for families, people that have children under the age of 18, they're not eligible for. That could be cash assistance. That could be many of our transitional housing programs. And then the issue on the flip side is if you're not at least 62, there are so many senior services that you're not eligible for, such as senior hard housing, such as, for example, Medicare, which you're not eligible to get until you're 65. So again, trying to find resources for this age group is a huge barrier to them attaining self-sufficiency.
Speaking with Alice, she explained to me that she's like, people say here, you know, some people for 6 months, some people for a year, some people for 2 years. And she told me, we're going to put you here for 2 years. And with that 2 years, this is giving you time to basically get yourself together. You know, she's like, 2 years is not a lot of time. So what we suggest is that you make the most of those. You're here, you don't have to worry about paying rent, how you're gonna pay, and you know, things like that. Everything that you need is gonna be supplied, and it was. So she said, you know, because at that point I really needed some skills. You know, I had worked at the Motel 6, you know, for a short time, but I didn't have any skills as far as getting a job out here. And what I knew how to do, which was care provider. In California, it was different. You didn't need to be certified. Out here, you couldn't get a job as a care provider unless you were certified. But I remember Alice also saying they had like group meetings we can go to, you know. And so I remember one of the ladies coming around saying that she was going to be driving to a group meeting and, you know, would I like to go? So that's what I did. I got up that morning and went to the group meeting. And there's other women, you know, that are basically in the same position that I'm in. And being at that group meeting made a world of difference because, you know, it was just like, okay, I'm not alone. You know, it's something for me to do. But not only that, it was, you know, it just felt, you know, empowering because everybody is talking about what they're going through and, you know, what they're going to do and things that we can do. And there was resources, you know, like we were told about all the different resources that were available to us. And so, again, I started thinking, what am I going to do? And so I remember coming home from the meeting that day feeling empowered, like, oh my God, I can do something. That's why I think the support groups were so valuable because it gave me the strength to know that I can do whatever it is that I needed to do and I'm going to be okay.